So alright, now it's time to harden off our pepper plants. They've all been growing indoors since they've been seeded out. We transplanted them and put them underneath of these LED lights. Plants are really liking it, but now it's time to get them used to the sunlight. In order to do that, we're going to have to take some time over the next few days to be sure that they get acclimated to all of that really bright sunlight. So right across the alleyway here, next to our front yard, a couple of episodes ago, we planted out an herb garden. We've got all sorts of different herbs growing in the ground, in containers. We've got a bunch of different mints, oreganos, lemon balm, lemongrass. There's some pineapple, sage, garlic, chives, parsley. Over here we've got some shiso and some more chives over there. But yeah, everything's growing really well. We put in this nice water feature, this waterfall. It is not running right now because it is loud in the background of these videos, so I turned it off for a moment here so we could film this clip. And we've got all of our peppers out into a shady spot of our front yard. It's a little partly cloudy today, so it's kind of a perfect day to get started hardening off all of these peppers. And if you saw the pepper transplant video, you'll have seen where I talked about these trays that I built for these peppers, and they're really convenient in this case right here, especially because we're going to have to bring these peppers in and outside over the next few days to get them acclimated to that sun, like we said. So carrying them out 16 at a time versus a few at a time is a lot easier to do. So this is day one. So day one, they're all just going to be getting used to a little bit of shady part sun. I'm only going to leave them out here for a couple of hours, seeing as how this is their first excursion outdoors, and then tomorrow we'll put them out for just a little bit longer. It's day two now. I've got them back outside here in the same spot of our front yard, a spot that is shaded by a tree that we have out here. And yesterday we had them out for just a little over 2 hours. Today we're gonna hit maybe 6+ hours today, mostly in the shade here under the tree. This is the afternoon, and we're gonna go towards the evening time, but the sun is gonna start shining on them as it gets closer to the evening. So this being our second day, they're going to get their first taste of some real sunlight here in the later evening. About the time the sun gets on them, I'm going to let them have just like a few minutes, maybe 20 minutes or so, with the direct sun on it. And then after that, I'm going to take them back inside. One thing you want to know too, though, with this hardening off process is that we're just getting them acclimated to real sun versus artificial sunlight. And some of these plants are not going to do as well with some of that direct sunlight at first. So you can expect some burning of leaves and some of your plants to get a little weary. But they will overcome that. But the slower we take it in a day-by-day process here of letting them have them just a little bit more, the better they will do. So now it's day 3, and we're in the back area here It's the back fence line where we plant out our tomatoes, and we've got our pepper set up there. This is my neighbor's back area. They let me use this area for growing. And this spot here for day 3 of our hardening off. Last night, actually, when I said that they were going to be out in some full sun for about 20 minutes, they were all looking pretty good at about that time. So I did let them stay out in the sun for just about an extra 20-30 more minutes than what I was planning. And they all did really well. All I was looking for was to see, because they're all watered pretty well, but if they look like they're getting limp and looking like that they would if they were dried out, if the soil was dried out, then that's kind of when they're giving in to some of that sun as such young seedlings from inside. So only had about 1 or 2 that were looking like they were having enough of the sunlight at that time, so we did keep them out just a little bit longer. And today they're in some diffused sunlight because we got kind of a overcast day today, so we're going to be out in this diffused sunlight all day today. And then tomorrow, which will be a lot more sunnier day, we'll see how well they do with some of that extra sunlight. So here we are, it's day 4 now, and we've got the peppers right in this strip of shade, giving them a little bit of shade throughout the afternoon, although I'm going to probably put them right in the sun right there here just after this. But they got out real early today and got some early morning sun and did really well with that, so I gave them a break here in the afternoon. Then I'll give them some evening sun, and then they'll be spending all night out tonight. I did let them outside for a little bit late last night just to get a little bit of a taste of the cooler evening air outdoors. They did really well, so now we're going to see how they handle overnight just before planting day. All right, now it's day 5. This is planting day for these pepper starts. Everybody's looking really good. They spent the whole night out last night and have been hanging out here all morning. We're starting to get into some of the afternoon sun, so we can see a couple of them here drooping just a little bit there in the afternoon sun there. But they'll be all right as it gets towards the evening. They'll perk right back up. You can see here on this one here too, there's a little bit of sun damage on some of those leaves there. But all in all, everybody's looking really, really good. So I'm excited about getting them planted out now. We'll get a bunch of them planted right here into our setup here we've got for our 5-gallon wicking buckets. And then a few other places around the gardens as well. So all right, now it's time to plant out these peppers. They've gone through a nice hardening off process. I've also added just a few more buckets here to the front of where we've got all of our other 5-gallon water wicking buckets there. And so we've got several spaces here that a lot of these are going to go into. There are a few other spaces around the gardens that we'll be planting them into as well. But I do have a garden tour coming up here in a couple more episodes, and that's where I'll show you where all of those other spaces are. But we'll be planting out here in this space, and then I also will show you also one other space along the alleyway as well too. And similar to the tomatoes, I do grow just a bit more than what I'm actually going to need in order to be able to pick out my best quality starts. And we do have a lot of really great ones to choose from this year, so I'm going to have a hard time picking out exactly which ones are going to go into the garden, and then all the other leftovers from there I'll hand out for free to some neighbors and friends and encourage them to grow out some of their own food in their gardens. So also, like the tomatoes real quick, I did start them out with a 72 cell tray, and I labeled each variety with a number in the tray. When we transplanted them out into our solo cups, we just put a craft stick in there with a number on it corresponding with the number that they were in the tray to keep track of the variety that they are. So to get these ready to be planted in, we're going to do similar to what we did for our tomato starts. We're just going to loosen the first couple of inches of soil there. Add in about a handful of our organic dry fertilizer. Mix that in. Then I'm going to dig a nice hole for this. Now the difference between our peppers and our tomatoes are going to be in how we plant them. We're not going to be planting our peppers in really deep. What we're going to do, in fact, is, let's get this one out. Okay, so we've got that out, and what we're going to do is we're just going to take off some of these small lower leaves down around the base of the plant, and then we're going to look here. You're going to see that about the first inch or so after the soil, top of the soil, there's going to be little root nodes there. So that's where we're going to bury our start up to, is about an inch there above the soil level that they were already at. So place those in there. There we go. And then maybe just another little half a handful again. And scratch in that organic fertilizer. That's it. Just the same. Just that easy. George? Yeah. Come see how the peppers are doing. Yeah. You're always looking out. So alright, there we go. We got ourselves about 17 different varieties planted out here in our setup for our 5-gallon water wicking buckets. So right back along the back part of our alleyway here, we've got this fence line behind one of my neighbor's house, and we put in some of our 5-gallon wicking buckets. Really good spot with some really good full sun for these plants. And as you can see here, we've got a couple of varieties of eggplant growing out of these two here. Right down in this bucket here, we've got a couple of little starts coming up, and those are some ground cherries. And right over in this bucket here, if we can get in there with some light, that guy's a little struggling tomato variety I didn't mention earlier, a variety called pineapple, which I really look forward to that variety if it survives. If not, I've got a couple of those other varieties still we can replace that with here. But yeah, we're going to put in a few more of our pepper varieties right back along here in this full sun. I've got a couple of varieties here, one called the purple Serrano, I'm sure most are familiar with. And then this variety here, this one is called a Habanada. So it's a habanero with habanero flavor, but it doesn't have any heat. So I'm really interested in that one there. I can't wait to try that out. And as well as this one I've grown the last couple seasons. This one is a really light heat jalapeno called a Tam Jalapeno. And then right down there, we've got a couple more varieties we're going to plant out. One, a very sweet pepper I enjoy over the last several seasons called Dous. And then a really good variety too that I grew out last season called the Tequila Sunrise. So we'll plant these out here. So now we're all planted out. We've got the peppers over there in the alleyway, all of our tomatoes planted out in our tomato row. Got our peppers planted out in our 5-gallon wicking buckets back here in their setup. Lots of great varieties in both peppers and tomatoes. And also here too, coming up here in another episode or so, we'll be doing what will be pretty much our final planting of the year. And that'll be all of our melons and squash and all sorts going here between all of these different containers here, as well as some other spaces. And back behind the fence we've got some corn and all of that, so look forward to that coming up here real soon on an upcoming episode. But yeah, it's really nice to start seeing everything in the garden coming together. Everything's looking really, really nice this year. So again, really great to have all of our different varieties of tomatoes and peppers finally making it out into all of their different spaces here in the gardens, especially our peppers there that have been waiting indoors under that artificial light for the last couple of months. So it's really great to get them out up underneath of the sun and finally into the spaces where they'll be growing throughout this season. And that's where I encourage all of you to keep following along here, as we'll keep you updated on all of their progress here in upcoming episodes. And if you like this one here, please give it a thumbs up and hit that like button. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything at all, please get down in that comment section below. I'd love to hear from all of you. If you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. Follow along with more of our garden adventures here on the Urban Gardener. And I'll see all of you on our very next one. So now let's get to finishing off planting out all these peppers down our tomato row. See you on the next one. George. Love you. And again, if you haven't hit again, and again, and again, and again, and again, on our very next one. Oh, that was good, but I messed that up there. All right, let's try that. I can do that. I can do it again. 5-gallon containers. It's gonna have to work. It's just gonna have to work.